right. Well, welcome back to another episode of The Purposeful Pen. So today I have Cara Ray with me. Cara and I have known each other for, I was trying to think, I'm not sure how many years, several, a
Several,
few,
many,
at least,
many
many.
probably at this point.
Yes, through different writing communities and things like that. And so, yes, I'm happy to have her here today to talk about her upcoming book as well as platform building. So, welcome, Cara.
Thank you, Amy. It's so fun to be here. I love listening to your podcast, and being on it is a special treat for me. So thank you.
Oh, thanks. So, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Well, my name is Cara Ray. I live in Arizona with my husband and my children. They're all my nest is emptying out a little bit. I married my oldest daughter got married last year. Um, and yeah, just they're ticking off. My third born is getting ready to graduate high school this year. So yeah, they're all just kind of moving on. But it's a good season of life. We really love it here, and I love writing. Writing is just it's more than a hobby. I feel like it is my calling and my job. So I love blogging on my website, and I also run and manage the Writers Bloc online community for Christian women writers. And so we have a podcast with that. You and I work together on that a lot. And so, yeah, it's just kind of my world revolves around words pretty much. So that's me.
Excellent. And so you are getting ready to release your first book, The Pursuit of Holy Leisure. So congratulations officially, even
Thank
though I've told you
you.
before,
I know. Thank
on
you.
that accomplishment. I know it has been a long time in the making, as books generally are. I don't think we realize how long they
It,
generally take, but
yes, it really is like having a baby, but even longer, right? It's more than a 9 month gestation period. It's often years. So,
definitely. And so this season on the podcast, we've been talking about building our writing platforms, which you needed to do before getting a publishing contract. So tell us some of the ways that you did that.
yeah. Well, to be honest, I wasn't sure I really ever wanted to write a book. So I was really writing out of the love of writing and wanting to get better at the craft. And as I was doing that, I felt like I was growing not only as a writer, but also learning how to build a platform. Because I think if you're wanting to write and you're wanting to put your words out into the world, it's always good for people to read them. And so that was always my goal. I just wanted to bless people. I wanted to grow myself in the process. I feel like writing is such a sanctifying work. So yeah, so my objective there was just to grow and have more people read my words. And so I blogged just with that intent alone for several years, and that was just a really good warm up for me. I feel like that really helped clarify a lot of things in my heart and also just in marketing because writing is part marketing. And so yeah, so that was kind of my the way I got introduced to it and how I started to write. I had always built websites, so I felt like I had a little bit of an advantage in terms of like understanding the visual appeal that often our work online needs to have. And so I really worked on making sure that my branding was clear, that my messaging, that I was clear, that my words were clear. And slowly and surely, I just kept getting more opportunities to put my words out beyond my own platform, and as a result, my list, my numbers, my platform all started to grow.
I love it. I love that it was born not out of a, okay, let me see how popular I can be or how many fans I can gather, but we're writing for a purpose, for serving that reader, and we want more people to be served by that. And
Yeah,
so, we
absolutely.
put our words out there. So, was there one particular avenue that worked better than the others for growing your platform?
Well, I think consistency was very helpful for me. One year I decided to blog every single week. So that was like year one or two for me. And that really kind of built up the muscle for me. And I think people started to kind of expect a certain type of content from me. So consistency helped. But then also I was able to get in on some platforms that were helpful in terms of expanding my own reach because of course when you're first starting your reach is limited. So I was able I it was before the Substack days. It was Medium, and so I was on Medium and I was on a publication there, and so that helped my work get more visibility. I was also in a couple different writing groups where we were doing collaborative projects that helped as well. And then I think the biggest one that really helped the most and by far was getting on the YouVersion Bible app. That became a very great and evergreen mode of getting my work out into the a much broader audience. And so often, I have some plans on there now, every Christmas, my Christmas plans get revisited. And so that's a really great way. And from those plans, I'm able to funnel some of those readers off and they download something from me and then they get into my ecosystem of subscribers. So those I think were the main ways, and just being in community like with you, and we started out on other platforms together, just getting to know other writers and sharing each other's work, commenting on each other's blog posts. All of those things really helped to grow my platform, but also just my skill as a writer. So all of that it was all kind of working hand in hand.
Yeah. So it's not, what I'm hearing is it's not always like one magic thing that
Right.
just does it all and fixes it overnight. It's taking advantage of opportunities and relationships and things like collaborations and things like that and putting your work out there. But then also, YouVersion is something I think a lot of writers don't necessarily think about. It's not necessarily on our radar. Um, it can be tricky to get into. It's not, they're kind of particular, correct, about who they accept. And how does all that work?
Yeah, that was a real blessing for me, but it is a kind of a frustrating one too, I understand for a lot of writers. It's technically considered a closed platform, which means that they've kind of accepted the number of contributors, they call them content partners, that they're going to have. Recently, I did learn that they are opening that back up. I think part of the reason it's been closed is because they've grown at such a huge pace. They just recently reached 1 billion downloads. It's just
Wow.
incredible. It's just a worldwide thing. So they were expanding into all of these different language markets, and I feel like part of that kind of resulted in not taking as many new English speaking and writing contributors. So I have heard that they're reopening that. But once you get in, it's a great platform because it just opens you up to a whole new reader base that you might not have found or had access to otherwise. So, if you've ever been on the YouVersion Bible app, you see that they have plans. And if you search under those plans, you'll find all kinds of contributors. Often they're church groups or, you know, authors you might recognize. So I just, I think it was lightning in a bottle, but I did get on there, and that's been really helpful for me.
And so contributors or content partners have the opportunity to put one link at the end of their plan. Is that how that works? And then
That's
that link can
correct.
lead to like joining at your, they've liked what you've offered. And then that link can lead to some sort of download or something that adds them to your email list.
That's correct. So, they don't want you cluttering up the plan with a bunch of links, but they will allow you to do one link at the end. And so, often, for example, my most popular plan has been translated into 34 languages, which is just incredible. I had nothing to do with that. YouVersion translated it for me, and it's called Every Longing Heart. It's a Christmas plan, and at the end of that plan, my download is a coloring book. I created a little coloring book that's very simple. But at the end of that plan, if you've liked it and you want to like take this home, this was something I always wanted to do with my kids. We would read a devotional around Christmas and they would color as I read. And so that was my idea with that download. And that has been really successful and people have downloaded that. So it's kind of finding the right download that works with whatever the content plan is about, something that would kind of enhance the reader's experience and kind of assimilate some of that information that you've been providing through your plan. That's the idea anyway.
Well, and my understanding was they were still very open to if you are fluent in something that is not English and
Yes.
want to write plans in some of these other languages, there was definitely a demand for that, from what I remember.
That's correct. And I think that is still true. They have so many new, I don't know if market is the right word for it, but just different language groups all over the world that are really hungry for Christian content. So yeah, if you know another language besides English and you have content, that's a great way to get into their platform because they're looking for content creators who speak Italian and Portuguese and French and even ones that I can't even pronounce, just different languages from all over the world. So there's great opportunity there.
Definitely. And you have a course on writing for YouVersion on within the Writers Block. And so if anyone wants to check that out on how do you put together a YouVersion plan, that is in there and available. And
That's
I
right.
think the bigger picture here too, like even if you have trouble getting into YouVersion, like the bigger story here is pay attention to those opportunities that come up because sometimes there are things that are outside the box of what we're thinking of. Yes, lead magnets and collaborations and things like that are great and good options. But sometimes there's things that aren't really on our radar. And so I think to just encourage people to be watching for those, that sometimes those can be great ways to like you said, grow your skills, grow your reach to more people, grow your platform. So
That's right. Yeah,
yeah.
you never know. And for many years, I had just been putting plans up there without a link. And it was really exciting to see that, people were reading them, but that was as far as it got. And then I realized, oh my goodness, there's an untapped potential here. And that was when I realized, oh, I can add a link. And that was a game changer for me. I didn't come up with it, obviously. I'm just not smart enough to do that. But once I figured that out, that was a big game changer for me.
Definitely. So now you have also worked with a lot of writers through your community, the Writers Block. Is there a particular platform building activity that you feel that a lot of writers neglect?
Well, again, I sound like a broken record. I think consistency is really key. I know a lot of writers who there's a lot of fear about putting yourself out there, and I really understand that. But and I felt that way too at first. I felt like, oh, I'm afraid that, when I first get started, I'm going to look back at some of my early work and probably cringe and probably say, oh, I would never say it like that now. But you can never get to that point of looking back with even a little bit of embarrassment if you don't put something out there to begin with.
Yes,
So I really would love to encourage writers who have a message to share, who have a heart to help others, to just to do it scared. It's okay to do that. So I love building on my own platform. Even if it's Substack or if you have your own website, I really feel like it's important to build your own online kind of library of work. I think that feels really good to kind of have a body of work that you have done. So I feel like that might be a mindset shift for some writers. It's not always about growing in numbers, but like I said, growing in skill, growing in your knowledge, your understanding of how your reader thinks, how you can serve him or her better. And then, just a real practical thing too, I think that writers may miss out on is just the SEO, search engine optimization aspect of writing. There are some great tools out there to help you learn that, but just kind of capturing a need based on some keyword analysis is a really great thing. I have one post. I do a series called 20 Bible verses on and then fill in the blank, different topics. And those have really worked in my favor as a tool to kind of get a wider reach. People who are searching for Bible verses to start your day will probably land on my first blog post there, which gets consistent traffic every day because that's just a keyword that people are looking for. So I enjoy writing those. I feel like those serve a purpose. I don't want those to be like the only type of content I write, but it is a way of serving people through the things that they are actually searching for online. What are the topics that you as a writer are equipped to talk about or to share about, or even just feel like, hey, I want to learn about this so that I can communicate it to somebody else. And by doing so, you're really helping somebody who's looking for the answers to those questions. So that's another way to really serve people and grow your skill and kind of get some of the advantage of that with higher traffic and more subscribers into your list.
Yeah, SEO can be a hugely untapped, unthought about avenue as well. It can feel very intimidating. It's like, what even is that? Um, but we have a course for that inside the Writer's Block too.
Little commercial break. Yes, we do.
But it's not. And yeah, it can definitely bring because Google is the new concordance, right? I mean, I've done
That's right.
that, like Bible verses about such and such, like
Yeah.
and those types of
Because
things come
people
up.
want
And
to
so
know those things. So you're
I want
you're
to know those
helping
things.
people. It is a way of serving people.
Definitely. So, speaking of numbers, sometimes when we talk about publishers and agents, we're told that our platform numbers need to be at a certain level, and usually, whatever level that is for that particular publisher feels ridiculously high in order to get a publishing contract, which can be just so discouraging, so demoralizing to so many of us. What would you say to a writer who has heard those numbers, you need to be here, and they just want to give up?
Well, I can say I know how you feel. That that was definitely my experience too. When I was writing, I had written my book proposal for this book, and the wisdom is write your book proposal, then stop writing, and start trying to sell it. Try to sell your book proposal. And I worked for I would say 6 months working to try and get an agent, and then often sending it to book publishers who would accept unagented proposals. So that was kind of my two-pronged approach. And to be honest, it was a discouraging process. There are a handful of publishers who will accept non-agented proposals, which is kind of where I ended up. I had asked and queried several agents that I knew, and that's what they told me. Your numbers just aren't there. And so that was when I decided I'm just going to try and bypass the whole agent thing and go straight to the publisher. So that was actually what worked for me. I was able to work with Christian focused publications. They were the ones that gave me an offer for my book proposal, and I was so grateful. So I would just say to those writers who are in that same boat or working on a book proposal and maybe don't have the email list that they have heard they need to have. Every time I ask an expert, the number's higher than it was
Mm-hmm.
a few years ago.
Yes.
And so it's a goalpost that continuously moves further and further away. And that's really unfortunate and demoralizing. And according to some of the women I have interviewed on the Writer's Block, the Christian market in particular is kind of behind the times. It seems that secular publishers actually recognize that, social media numbers don't sell books, and having smaller email lists isn't such a bad thing if you've got a really good idea and you've got really good skill. So I think the moral of the story is you just need one yes. And there are publishers, oftentimes much smaller ones, that are looking for those things, good ideas and good writers who can persuasively, establish and put out their book, their ideas for the world to see. So I got that one yes, and so that was what I needed. But yeah, there were days I was super discouraged. I was like, why? What does it take? The game can be very discouraging. But if you have that really good idea and you're willing to just write your book, even if it's not going to be traditionally published, but you want to self-publish it too. I mean, I think that's a really good indicator that like you should write that book regardless. Just keep going.
Yeah, I love it that you only need one yes.
You just need
You don't
one.
need 20 yes, you just need one.
It would be nice
Um,
to have more, right?
it would
Like
be
it'd be
nice to have more.
nice if people were fighting over you, but at least
Right.
you get one.
And an agent can be a very helpful person in your corner to help you navigate these things, but it's not always necessary. I mean, you found a publisher that didn't require having an agent first. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah,
It would have
you,
been nice. I'll admit right up front. It would have been nice to have had an agent, especially as a first time author. There's just a lot of questions you have in the process and you don't know what's normal, but you can do it. And my publisher was great to work with, answered my questions and things like that. So, I mean, is it ideal? No, but is it real? Is it realistic that you can get through the process without an agent? Yes, you can.
and so I think I know my temptation is to hear those big, huge, enormous numbers that keep getting bigger, be like, well, I don't have anything close to that, so I won't even bother trying. And it sounds like that's not the right response. It's like, no, keep trying to grow, but keep trying anyway. Um,
Absolutely. Yeah. I think you kind of one of the hard things about it, especially when you're a new writer, is that you kind of have to spin a lot of plates at the same time. And I think that's why, having a body of work that you can kind of draw from, that you can continue to put out, even if it's short form content that you're putting out and you're kind of staying in front of people. And as the list is growing, you're also kind of working on this idea, this book project. And so you do have to kind of keep both fires warm, at least. I don't think they have to be raging bonfires, but you do have to kind of keep both of those things going at the same time. And maybe that's not always the case for more established writers, but that was how I felt going through this process. It was like, okay, I got to write my book, but I kind of still have to keep feeding my readers with at least something every once in a while. The frequency dropped definitely, but it was still there.
so tell us about your book and what it's always fun to hear. What's the story behind why you wanted to write it?
Yeah, well, um, it's funny because even though I felt like this idea had kind of been like burning inside me for the last, I would say, 3 or 4 years, I had gone through my Google Drive folder not long ago, and I saw a version of my book that I had kind of noodled and written down some ideas about 10 years ago. And I was like, oh my gosh. So I feel like this book has kind of been in me for a real long time. It just kind of took various shapes and forms than the one that is here today. But the pursuit of holy leisure was a phrase I found in a book on spiritual disciplines. And I had struggled ever since I was a new Christian in my teens with the consistent quiet time, consistent time in the Word. And I loved God's word. I loved him. I loved listening to the word. I loved reading books about the word, but I had a hard time opening up the pages of my Bible and enjoying God and his presence for myself. And I think part of it was an intimidation factor. I think also I looked at it wrong. I looked at it as like, this is my duty as a Christian. It wasn't always my delight. And when I found that phrase, it was a Latin phrase called odium sanctum in this book. And he described it as holy leisure, and that this was an idea that early church fathers had about kind of a peaceful, going with the flow sort of mentality to your time with God, being in nature, those kind of things. And so I said to my husband, I was like, "This is the most beautiful phrase, holy leisure. What does that mean?" And that really just kind of kicked me off on a journey of learning what holy leisure was and really how that could be applied to my problem, which had been my problem for many years of just enjoying being in God's Word. And when I started to think of my time, my quiet time, as a pursuit of holy leisure versus a checkbox of my daily to dos, it changed everything for me. I was able to start waking up earlier and I was enjoying God's word like I had never enjoyed it before. And it was also kind of coinciding with writing because I was able to take the things I was learning in my quiet times and translate that into blog posts. And so all of those things kind of connected in my heart and in my mind. And it really just changed the way I viewed going to God's word. And so, yeah, that's the story behind it. It was born out of my own pain, my own struggle. And as I've, the last several decades of my life as a Christian, I've talked to so many Christians who have expressed similar feelings. So I think this is kind of a universal, maybe not universal, but it's a very common experience that I think Christians have. So I hope this book kind of meets that need.
Yeah, I think a lot of us can struggle with that kind of checkbox mentality. Like, okay, I'm supposed to have a quote quiet time in the morning and read my Bible and pray, and this is what I'm supposed to do. And it becomes a box to check. And but you're sort of flipping the script on that and kind of changing your mindset, right?
Absolutely.
In what
Yeah.
how we approach that time and what all that looks like.
Yes, absolutely. I think it is a mindset shift. It's not a new technique. It's not a new Bible study method. It really is a way of looking and approaching God's word with a different viewpoint, a different lens of going to God's word not to fulfill your duty, although I it's not wrong to be disciplined in that area of our life. I really think that often those habits and those practices do bear fruit. So I'm not against going to God's word as a rhythm of your life, but really I wanted to have that rhythm produce the joy in my heart that I felt was missing, and holy leisure, resting in God, appreciating his goodness and his truth and his beauty. All of those things are like baked into the idea of what does it mean to be at leisure, to be at rest. And when I transferred those feelings, that mindset to my quiet time, everything changed.
Yeah, that makes sense. And so, as Christian writers, how can we connect this to our writing? Because not only can we tend to check boxes in our relationship with God, but even in our writing. So, if our writing is to be an extension of our walk with Jesus, then how can that mindset of holy leisure help us to see our writing that way also?
Oh, yeah. I mean, for sure it connects because I think the pursuit of holy leisure is really ingrained into the way we express ourselves and the way we kind of move throughout our days. And so I have a chapter in my book called Creating Art with Heart, and that was kind of born out of my own desire to give give back to the Lord, to make my writing and my work kind of an offering to the Lord. And so often, and I mean, I struggle with this still, even though I've written this book about it. I think we often feel like, I've got to meet these deadlines. I have to hit publish over and over and over again. I have to do. And so, holy leisure is a wonderful way to approach your creative life as well, because it's really about being in God's presence and being transformed before we're in that production mode and mindset. So it's really about being present with the Lord, appreciating his goodness, truth, and beauty. And the beautiful thing about writing in particular is that the transformation happens as we write. We are actually being refined in the writing process. Maybe traditional artists have that experience as well, but I feel like as we're in the word and as we're really wrestling through, like, how can I make this idea or this concept clear? We are having to become more clear. So we're learning, we're growing, and then we're also passing on that insight to others. So it's all connected. It's all connected in how we rest and how we work.
Absolutely. So, what encouragement would you offer to writers who are early in this process of writing, trying to get that first book published, and it feels like such a far away and unattainable goal?
Yeah, I feel like right. Like that's a very simple answer to a
Keep
very
writing.
complex question, but just do it. I mean, I think Nike's onto something. I think we have to there's a process that I think that it may be unique to every person, but even just working, you and I both love to talk about journaling, working through some of those ideas in your journal. I mean, not everything that you need to write needs to be published or seen by others, but go through the work of, figuring out what you want to say. What do you mean by what you're saying? Do you actually mean what you're saying when you say the things you say? I feel like those are the questions that are rolling around in my mind all the time. Do I really believe this? Is this really true? Does this make sense? Is this clear? Like, I think all of those things help us become better writers in the process, but we can't become better and we can't meet our goals if we don't sit down and do it. So I think often we wait for inspiration, we wait for the next big idea, but really nothing beats the routine and the rhythm of sitting down every day and writing, even if it's for 10 or 15 minutes. And make a goal. Put your work out there. Get into a community and start sharing your work. I think that's a great way too for those new writers and even established ones. You need other writers around you to help you in the process, cheer you on.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. And to give you feedback on your writing and all of that. Yes.
Absolutely.
So, where can we find your book and yourself online?
Well, my book is on Amazon. It's called The Pursuit of Holy Leisure, Enjoying God in Everyday Places. And then I write online on my website at cara-ray.com. And then I'm also on Facebook and Instagram at Pursuing Odium Sanctum. I know that's Latin there, but that means pursuing holy leisure. That's where you can find me online. And then, of course, you can also join me and Amy in the Writers Bloc. You can find out more about the Writers Bloc at mywritersblock.com, and that's BLOC.com.
Excellent. And the book releases April
14th,
14th,
2026. Yep.
but you can pre order it.
You can pre-order it
Yeah.
now and then it'll arrive on your doorstep on April 14th.
Sounds good. Well, this has been super helpful, Cara. Thank you so much. And good luck with your book launch and all the things. And yeah, thanks for chatting today.
Thank you for having me. It's always fun to be on the purposeful pen. Thanks, Amy.